Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Starfire and watched the massive alien space station grow larger on the main screen. The station was bigger than any city on Earth. It spun slowly around a giant gas planet that looked like a purple and green marble from this distance. Jake had never seen anything so huge in his 35 years of life. "Sir, we're getting a message from the station," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her position at the communications desk. "They're telling us where to dock our ship." Jake nodded and turned to the woman standing beside him. Lisa Grant was Earth's best diplomat. She wore a dark blue suit and carried herself with quiet confidence. Her job was to make sure humans got into the Galactic Council. It was the most important mission in human history. "Are you ready for this?" Jake asked her. Lisa smiled. "As ready as anyone can be when meeting 12 different alien species for the first time." Behind them, Colonel Ryan Burke checked his weapon. One more time. He was there to protect the human team, but Jake hoped they would not need protection. The aliens had invited them here. That had to be a good sign. The Starfire moved slowly toward the docking bay. Through the windows, Jake could see other alien ships parked around the station. Some looked like silver needles. Others were round like balls. A few had shapes that hurt to look at directly. Each one belonged to a different species in the council. Dr. Elena Rodriguez joined them on the bridge. She carried a large case full of human inventions and discoveries. Her job was to show the aliens what humans could do. She had worked for months to prepare the best examples of human science and technology. "The docking is complete," announced the pilot. "We're locked in place." Jake took a deep breath. "All right, people, this is it. Remember, we're not just representing ourselves. We're representing all of humanity. Every person on Earth is counting on us." The team walked through the ship's corridors to the airlock. Jake pressed the button to open the door. Cool air rushed in from the station. It smelled strange but not bad, like flowers mixed with metal. They stepped onto the alien station. The corridor was wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side. The walls were made of some kind of white material that seemed to glow with its own light. Strange symbols covered the walls in rows. Jake guessed they were words in alien languages. A creature waited for them at the end of the corridor. It stood on 4 legs and had 2 arms. Its skin was blue and covered in small scales. 2 large eyes sat on top of its head like a frog. When it spoke, its voice came from a small device hanging around its neck. "Welcome, humans. I am Guide Kelton. I will take you to the council chamber." The team followed the alien guide through the station. They passed many other creatures. Some were tall and thin like walking trees. Others were short and round. A few floated in the air without any visible means of support. All of them stopped to stare at the humans as they walked by. Jake felt like an animal in a zoo. The aliens looked at them with curiosity, but also with something else. It took him a moment to realize what it was. They looked at humans the way adults look at children playing with toys. The council chamber was enormous. 12 different sections surrounded a center platform. Each section held the representatives of one alien species. The humans were led to a small platform in the middle. All the aliens could see them from above. A voice boomed through the chamber. It came from speakers hidden in the walls. "The council recognizes the delegation from the planet Earth. You may present your case for membership." Lisa stepped forward. She had practiced this speech hundreds of times. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, humanity comes before you with respect and hope. We seek to join your alliance and contribute to the peace and prosperity of the galaxy." She spoke for 10 minutes about human achievements. She talked about art, music, literature, and philosophy. She mentioned human exploration of space and the colonies on Mars and the Moon. She described human efforts to protect their planet and help those in need. When Lisa finished, Dr. Rodriguez took her place. She opened her case and pulled out a small device. "This is a medical scanner that can detect diseases before symptoms appear. It has saved millions of lives on Earth." She showed several other inventions, explaining how each one solved problems that had troubled humans for generations. The aliens listened in silence, Occasionally, Jake heard what sounded like whispers from the different sections. He could not understand the words, but the tone did not sound impressed. When Dr. Rodriguez finished, the chamber fell quiet. Then a new voice spoke. It was deeper and colder than the first one. I am High Counselor Vexatai of the Zephyrian Empire. We have observed your species for some time. Your efforts are noted. However, the Council has concerns about humanity's readiness for galactic citizenship. Jake felt his stomach tighten. This was not going the way they had hoped. Vexatai continued. Your species is young and aggressive. You fight wars among yourselves. You damage your own planet. You have barely left your solar system. These are not the qualities we seek in Council members. Lisa stepped forward again. Honored Counselor, humanity has learned from its mistakes. We have united our world. We have begun to heal the damage we caused. We offer our unique perspective and abilities to help the galaxy grow stronger. A sound like laughter came from several sections of the chamber. It was not pleasant laughter. It was the kind of laugh that said the speaker thought they were better than everyone else. Unique perspective? Vextai's voice held clear mockery. Child species often believe they have something special to offer. Time teaches them otherwise. The Council has made its decision. The chamber fell silent again. Jake held his breath. The Council denies humanity's application for membership. Furthermore, we declare Earth a protected primitive world under Council jurisdiction. You will cease all space exploration beyond your solar system immediately. All human technological development will be subject to Council oversight. This is for your own protection and the safety of the galaxy. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. Not only had they been rejected, but Earth was being treated like a nature preserve. Humanity was being told to stay in their corner of space like children sent to their room. Lisa's face went pale, but she kept her voice steady. Honored Council, surely there must be some way to discuss this decision. Humanity has much to offer. Vextai's response was swift and final. The decision is made. Your delegation will remain here as our guests while we establish the new protocols for Earth. Guides will show you to your quarters. The platform beneath the humans began to move, carrying them away from the chamber. Jake looked back at the alien representatives. Most had already turned away, as if humans were no longer worth their attention. As they were led through the corridors to their assigned rooms, Jake felt anger building inside him. They had come here with hope and respect. They had offered friendship and cooperation. In return, they had been treated like primitive savages who needed to be controlled. The quarters were comfortable but clearly designed to keep them contained. Jake gathered his team in his room. All of them looked stunned and angry. Well, Lisa said quietly, that could have gone better. Colonel Burke spoke for the first time since they had arrived. Sir, I don't think they ever intended to accept us. This whole thing was just for show. Dr. Rodriguez nodded. The way they looked at our technology, they weren't impressed. They were amused, like watching children play with blocks. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Earth was somewhere out there, waiting for news of their success. Instead, he would have to tell them that humanity had been caged like dangerous animals. But as he stared into space, Jake felt something growing inside him. It was not despair. It was determination. Humans had faced impossible odds before and found ways to win. They had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. They had reached for the stars when everyone said it was impossible. The Council thought humans were primitive and weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Jake turned back to his team. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start planning our way out of here. Earth needs to know what happened. And Earth needs to be ready for what comes next. Outside the window, the stars continued to shine, unaware that the galaxy was about to change forever. President Amanda Foster sat in the White House Situation Room and stared at the video message from the Galactic Council station. Her face was pale as she listened to Captain Morrison explain what had happened. Around the table, the most powerful people on Earth sat in stunned silence. They called us what? Admiral Chris Hayes asked, his voice tight with anger. A protected primitive world. Morrison's voice came through the speakers. They're treating Earth like a zoo. They say we can't leave our solar system anymore. They want to watch everything we do. Secretary of State Maria Santos shook her head. This is unacceptable. We came to them in peace. We offered friendship and cooperation. President Foster stood up and walked to the window. Outside, people were going about their normal lives, not knowing that aliens had just declared Earth a prison. What exactly did they say about us? Morrison's image on the screen looked tired and angry. High Counselor Vextai called us barely evolved primates. He said we're dangerous to ourselves and the galaxy. They think we're too stupid and violent to be trusted. The room erupted in angry voices. Admiral Hayes pounded his fist on the table. Barely evolved primates? We'll show them what these primates can do. Calm down, everyone, President Foster said. Chris, I need you to contact every world leader. Call an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. If the aliens want to treat us like animals, they're going to find out what happens when you corner a dangerous animal. Meanwhile, back on the council station, Jake Morrison and his team were learning just how much the aliens despised humanity. They were not prisoners, but they were not free to leave either. Alien guards followed them everywhere they went. The worst part was listening to the aliens talk about humans when they thought no one was paying attention. Lisa Grant spoke several alien languages, and what she heard made her sick. They're debating whether humans should be allowed to keep their space colonies, she told Jake as they sat in their quarters. Some think we should be forced back to Earth completely. Others think we might be useful as workers for simple tasks. Colonel Burke was checking the locks on their door for the 5th time that day. Sir, we need to get out of here. Earth needs to know what we're dealing with. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her tablet. I've been analyzing the station's systems. Their technology is advanced, but it's also very standardized. Everything follows the same patterns. They don't seem to think about backup plans or alternative methods. Jake nodded. That might be useful later. For now, we need to focus on gathering information. The more we learn about them, the better Earth can prepare. On Earth, the emergency meeting of world leaders was unlike anything in human history. Representatives from every nation gathered in New York. For the first time since the United Nations was formed, every country agreed on something. The aliens had insulted all of humanity. The Council has made their position clear, President Foster told the Assembly. They see us as primitive animals that need to be controlled. They want to limit our growth, our exploration, and our freedom. I say we show them what humans do when our freedom is threatened. The Chinese premier stood up. China offers all of our industrial capacity to this effort. We will build whatever humanity needs. The Russian president nodded. Our space program and military technology are at your disposal. One by one, every leader made the same pledge. Old enemies became allies. Countries that had fought wars for decades suddenly worked together. The alien threat had done what centuries of diplomacy could not do. It had united humanity. Dr. Alex Turner was called to the Pentagon 3 days after the Council's announcement. He was America's best weapons engineer, and Admiral Hayes had a job for him. Alex, I need you to forget everything you know about conventional warfare, Hayes said. We're not fighting other humans anymore. We're fighting aliens who think we're too stupid to be a threat. I want you to prove them wrong. Turner smiled. Sir, I've been thinking about this since I heard the news. If they think we're primitive, let's use that against them. They won't expect certain tactics because they think we're too dumb to think of them. Meanwhile, the Council was moving quickly to establish their control over Earth. Automated monitoring probes appeared throughout the solar system. They were sleek silver devices about the size of cars. They watched everything humans did and reported back to the Council. The probes scanned human communications, monitored space traffic, and interfered with any technology they considered too advanced. When a supply ship tried to reach the Mars colonies, the probes blocked its path. Captain Ben Taylor was commanding the supply run to Mars. His ship carried food, medicine, and equipment that the colonists desperately needed. When the alien probe surrounded his vessel, He tried to explain that people would die without the supplies. The probes did not care. They forced Taylor's ship back toward Earth. The delay meant that 30 Mars colonists died from a disease that could have been cured with the medicine on Taylor's ship. News of the deaths spread across Earth like wildfire. The aliens were not just insulting humanity anymore. They were killing humans. Back on the council station, Jake Morrison was forced to attend another meeting with the alien representatives. This time, Lisa Grant was not allowed to speak. The aliens wanted to make their position even clearer. High Counselor Vextai stood before the human delegation. His blue, scaled skin seemed to shimmer under the chamber lights. Humans, your species continues to disappoint us. Your people on Earth are resisting our guidance. This is exactly why you need our protection. Lisa could not stay quiet. Protection? You let 30 people die on Mars. How is that protection? Vextai's large eyes focused on her with something like amusement. 30 individuals out of billions, a small price to pay for learning obedience. Your species must understand that you are children in a galaxy of adults. Children who play with fire get burned. Colonel Burke's hand moved toward his weapon, but Jake stopped him with a look. Starting a fight here would not help Earth. Dr. Rodriguez tried a different approach. Counselor, surely you can see that humanity has potential. Our innovations could benefit the entire galaxy. We could work together. The sound that came from Vextai might have been laughter, but it was cold and cruel. Work together? What could barely evolved primates possibly offer to civilized species? You are entertaining. Pets at best. Your little inventions are amusing toys. Toys? Dr. Rodriguez stood up, her face red with anger. These toys have saved millions of lives. They've solved problems that your advanced species probably never even thought of. Problems that would not exist if you were properly guided from the beginning, Vextai replied. This conversation demonstrates exactly why the Council's decision was correct. You cannot accept your place in the natural order. Jake had heard enough. The natural order? You mean the order where you get to decide who lives and who dies? Where you get to cage entire species because you think you're better than them? Vexatai's eyes glittered with something that might have been pleasure. Finally, you begin to understand. The strong guide the weak. The civilized control the primitive. This is how the galaxy has maintained peace for thousands of years. Peace for who? Lisa asked. Peace for the species in control, or peace for everyone? There is no difference, Vexatai said. The Council brings order to chaos. We prevent lesser species from destroying themselves and others. You should be grateful. Jake looked around the chamber at the other alien representatives. Most were not even paying attention. A few seemed bored. They were discussing the fate of humanity, like it was a minor administrative matter. That night, back in their quarters, Jake gathered his team. They had all heard enough. The aliens were not going to change their minds. They saw humans as animals, and animals could be caged, controlled, or killed as needed. We need to get off this station, Jake said quietly. Earth needs to know everything. We've learned, and Earth needs to prepare for war. War against the entire Galactic Council? Burke asked. Sir, they have 12 different species, advanced technology, ships we can't even imagine. They also have weaknesses, Dr. Rodriguez said. Their technology is standardized. They think in rigid patterns. They've been in control so long they've forgotten how to fight a real enemy. Lisa nodded. And they've made one critical mistake. They think we're too primitive to be dangerous. They're not watching us as carefully as they should. Jake smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. Then let's show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. Ben, start working on escape plans. Elena, keep analyzing their systems. Lisa, learn everything you can about their politics. We're going home, and when we get there, Earth is going to be ready. Outside their window, the stars looked down on a galaxy that was about to change. The Council had made their choice. They had insulted humanity, caged it, and killed its people. Now they were about to learn that there is nothing more dangerous than a human being who has been pushed too far. The fire was about to begin. Dr. Alex Turner stood in the underground laboratory beneath Denver and watched his team work on humanity's future. The facility had been built in secret over the past 3 months. Every major nation on Earth had contributed money, materials, and their best scientists. The project had only one goal: build weapons that could fight the Galactic Council. "Sir, we've made a breakthrough," called Dr. Sam Parker from across the room. She held up a piece of metal that seemed to shift colors in the light. "We figured out how their probe armor works. The good news is we can copy it. The better news is we can break it." Turner walked over to examine the sample. 3 weeks ago, human forces had managed to capture one of the Council's monitoring probes. It had been risky. The aliens noticed when their probe went offline, but by then human engineers had already torn it apart to see how it worked. "The armor changes its molecular structure to resist different types of attacks," Parker explained. "But it takes time to adapt. If you hit it with multiple different weapons at once, it can't keep up." "How long do we have before it adapts?" Turner asked. "About 2 seconds for each new weapon type. But if you use 5 different weapons in those 2 seconds, you can punch right through." Turner smiled. It was the first time he had smiled in weeks. "Outstanding. What else have we learned?" Another scientist, Dr. Kevin Ross, joined them. He looked tired but excited. "Their computers are incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly trusting. They don't expect attacks from the inside. I think I can build a virus that will spread through their entire network." "What kind of virus?" "The kind that makes their ships think up is down and left is right. The kind that turns their weapons on each other. The kind that opens every door and turns off every light at the same time." Turner nodded. This was exactly what humanity needed. The aliens thought humans were too primitive to understand advanced technology. They were about to learn that humans were very good at breaking things they did not understand. Above ground, General Patricia Webb was coordinating the largest military buildup in human history. Every shipyard on Earth and in the colonies was working at maximum capacity. Old factories were converted to build spaceship parts. New factories were built in record time. The ships being built were unlike anything humans had made before. They were fast, small, and heavily armed. Most importantly, they were unpredictable. Where alien ships followed standard designs, human ships were built to be different from each other. Captain Ben Taylor was testing one of the new ships in the asteroid belt near Mars. The vessel was called the Lightning, and it lived up to its name. It could change direction faster than anything humans had built before. "Sir, we've got company," his navigator announced. 3 council probes approaching fast. "Perfect timing," Taylor said. "Let's see if our new stealth system works." He flipped a switch and the Lightning seemed to disappear. The ship was still there, but the alien sensors could not find it. The probes flew past, searching for something that was right next to them. "Outstanding," Taylor whispered. "Take us home. Earth needs to know this works." Back on the council station, Jake Morrison and his team were putting their own plan into action. They had spent weeks studying the station's layout and the aliens' routines. Tonight, they were going home. Lisa Grant had used her diplomatic status to access the station's communication center. She told the guards she needed to send an official message to Earth about the new regulations. While she distracted them with paperwork, Colonel Burke planted Dr. Rodriguez's devices throughout the center. "How long until they notice?" Jake asked Rodriguez as they met back in their quarters. "The bugs are designed to look like normal wear and tear on their equipment," she replied. "Unless they do a complete system check, they shouldn't find them for weeks. By then, we'll have copied everything." The devices Rodriguez had planted were humanity's greatest intelligence coup. They would record every message the Council sent, every plan they made, and every weakness they revealed. More importantly, they would give Earth advance warning of any Council attacks. Dr. Rodriguez had made another discovery while studying the station. "Their whole society is built on the idea that they're superior to everyone else," she explained to the team. "They don't just think they're better than us, they think they're better than each other too." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "Look at how the different species interact. The Zephyrians think they should be in charge because they're the oldest. The hegemony of Talvar thinks they should lead because they have the biggest fleet. The crystal beings from Andromeda think they're the smartest. They're only united because they all think they're better than younger species like us. Lisa nodded. I've noticed that too. During diplomatic meetings, they spend more time arguing with each other than discussing policy. If we could drive a wedge between them, they might fight each other instead of us, Burke finished. Jake was beginning to see the shape of a plan. The council thought they were united and strong. In reality, they were held together by arrogance and habit. If that unity cracked, their whole empire might fall apart. On Earth, Admiral Chris Hayes was reviewing reports from across the globe. The news was better than he had dared hope. Human industry had mobilized faster than anyone thought possible. Weapons production was ahead of schedule. Ship construction was breaking records every day. More importantly, humanity was united in a way it had never been before. The alien insult had erased national boundaries and old grudges. Chinese engineers worked with American scientists. Russian factories built parts designed in Europe. African nations provided rare materials. South American countries offered training facilities. Sir, we have a message from Captain Morrison, his aide announced. Hayes read the message twice. Morrison and his team were escaping tonight. More importantly, they had stolen council intelligence that would change everything. Get me President Foster, Hayes ordered. She needs to see this immediately. The escape from the council station happened at 0300 station time. Jake and his team had timed it perfectly. Most of the aliens were asleep, and the guards were at their most relaxed. They used maintenance tunnels to reach the docking bay where human ships were kept. The Starfire was still there, powered down but ready to fly. Burke had disabled the tracking devices weeks ago, though the aliens did not know it yet. Everyone ready? Jake asked as they boarded their ship. More than ready, Lisa replied. I've been looking forward to leaving this place since we arrived. Dr. Rodriguez started the engines while Burke sealed the airlock. Within minutes, they were pulling away from the station. It would be hours before anyone noticed they were gone. As the Starfire entered hyperspace, Jake looked back at the council, Station 1 last time. When he saw it again, it would be as an enemy target, not as a diplomatic destination. The intelligence they had gathered would reach Earth in 3 days. The stolen council communications would give humanity a complete picture of their enemy's strengths and weaknesses. More importantly, they had learned that the council was not as united as they pretended to be. Dr. Turner received the intelligence data and immediately called an emergency meeting. The information was even better than they had hoped. The council had detailed files on every species in their empire, including their own members. Humanity now knew exactly who they were fighting. Look at this, Turner said, pointing to a holographic display. The council has been using the same battle tactics for over 1,000 years. They don't adapt or change because they've never needed to. Every enemy they've faced has been weaker than them. General Webb studied the data. What about their technology? Can we match it? We don't need to match it, Turner replied. We need to be unpredictable. They build ships to intimidate and dominate. We build ships to survive and win. They follow rigid battle plans. We adapt and improvise. Dr. Ross had been analyzing the council's computer systems. I can have my virus ready in 2 weeks, he announced. Once it's in their network, their own technology will work against them. Admiral Hayes looked around the room at humanity's best and brightest. 6 months ago, they had been separate nations with separate goals. Today, they were one species with one mission: prove to the galaxy that humanity would not be caged. How long until we're ready? Hayes asked. Turner checked his notes. Full production will be online in 8 weeks. We'll have a fleet of 500 ships, each one designed to do something the Council won't expect. And our secret weapons? Ready for field testing next week. Sir, when we hit them, they won't know what happened until it's too late. Hayes nodded. The aliens had made their choice when they decided to treat humanity like animals. They had sealed their fate when they let 30 Mars colonists die. Now they were about to learn that the most dangerous animal is the one that fights back. Earth was ready for war. The Council was about to discover that they had awakened something that would not be put back to sleep. The fire was coming, and it would burn across the stars. Admiral Chris Hayes stood on the bridge of humanity's flagship, the Earth's Fury, and watched as hundreds of human ships moved into position around Earth's solar system. Today was the day humanity would show the galaxy what happens when you cage a predator. "All ships report ready, sir," announced Commander Kelly Brooks from her position at the communication station. "The fleet is in position for Operation Wildfire." Hayes nodded. 8 weeks of preparation had led to this moment. 500 human ships waited for his signal. Each one carried weapons the Council had never seen before. Each captain had orders to fight in ways that would confuse and terrify their enemies. "Send the message to all Council monitoring probes," Hayes ordered. "Tell them we reject their authority over humanity. Tell them we're coming for them." The message was broadcast on all frequencies. Within seconds, the alien probes threw out. The solar system began moving toward Earth. They expected to find primitive humans cowering in fear. Instead, they found a coordinated attack fleet waiting for them. Captain Ben Taylor fired the first shot of the war. His ship, the Lightning, appeared behind a Council probe like a ghost materializing from empty space. The probe's sensors never detected him until his weapons were already firing. "Target destroyed," Taylor announced. Moving to next probe. Across the solar system, human ships struck simultaneously. They used the new stealth technology to appear from nowhere. They fired weapons that changed type every few seconds, preventing the alien armor from adapting. Most importantly, they fought like humans, unpredictably, aggressively, and with no regard for what was supposed to be impossible. On the Council station, alarms began screaming. High Counselor Vextai rushed to the command center, his scaled skin pale with shock. The displays showed probe after probe going offline throughout human space. "How is this possible?" Vextai demanded. "Humans don't have this technology. They're barely capable of spaceflight." The Talvar military commander, General Zethko, studied the tactical displays with growing alarm. "Sir, they're using coordinated attack patterns, multiple weapon types. Stealth technology we can't detect. These are not primitive tactics." "It must be a trick," Vextai insisted. "Some other species is helping them. Humans couldn't do this alone." But even as he spoke, the evidence mounted. Human ships were operating throughout their solar system with precision that impressed even veteran Council officers. They struck targets and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They used teamwork and coordination that seemed almost supernatural. Dr. Kevin Ross's virus was already spreading through Council networks. The first sign was small. A few communication delays, some minor navigation errors. Then bigger problems started appearing. Ships received contradictory orders. Weapon systems locked onto friendly targets. Life support systems began random shutdowns. "Sir, we're losing contact with forward bases," reported a Council technician. "Systems are failing across 3 sectors. Vextai's large eyes widened in disbelief. "Failing how? Our technology doesn't fail." "It appears to be a cascade system malfunction, sir. Each failure triggers more failures. It's spreading through our entire network." Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison led a strike team toward the Council's primary communication hub. His ship, the Defiance, carried some of humanity's most advanced weapons. But more importantly, it carried human determination. "Target in sight," announced his navigator. 12 Council ships defending the hub. 12 ships against 1, Morrison mused. They probably think those are good odds. The Council defenders moved to intercept the human ship, following standard battle formations they had used for centuries. Morrison smiled. Standard formations were exactly what humans had trained to defeat. "All weapons target the lead ship. Fire pattern Delta 7. The Defiance opened fire with 5 different weapon types in rapid succession. Plasma cannons, railguns, particle beams, fusion torpedoes, and gravity bombs all struck the Council ship within 2 seconds. The alien armor tried to adapt to each weapon type, but there were too many changes happening too fast. The Council ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. "Target the next ship. Fire pattern Echo 3. This time Morrison used a completely different combination of weapons. The aliens had no time to learn from the previous attack. Their ships were built to dominate weaker enemies, not to survive. Against opponents who fought dirty, one by one the Council defenders fell. Their superior technology meant nothing when they couldn't predict what was coming next. Human tactics were chaos, made deadly. General Patricia Webb was coordinating the assault on Council forward bases throughout the galaxy. Her forces struck 3 targets simultaneously, each attack using completely different methods. At Kepler Station, Commander Kelly Brooks led a boarding action that captured the facility intact. Her Marines fought with weapons that could change from stun to lethal to explosive with the flip of a switch. The Council defenders had trained to fight enemies who used consistent weapons. They had no idea how to respond to humans who changed tactics every few minutes. Station secured, Brooks reported. We have their command codes and strategic databases. The captured information revealed the full extent of Council territory and military strength. More importantly, it showed the growing cracks in their alliance. Different species were already starting to blame each other for the human attacks. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had designed special weapons just for this war. The gravity bombs created miniature black holes that lasted for exactly 30 seconds. The quantum torpedoes passed through alien shields like they weren't there. The neural disruptors shut down electronic systems by overloading them with random signals. But her greatest creation was the Chaos missile. It looked like a normal torpedo, but when it hit an enemy ship, it released millions of nanobots that rewrote the ship's computer programming. Within minutes, Council ships were firing on each other, opening their own airlocks, and broadcasting embarrassing personal messages on public frequencies. The turning point came when human forces captured a Council dreadnaught intact. The massive ship was 10 times larger than anything humans had built, but its crew surrendered when their own weapons started targeting the bridge. Dr. Alex Turner led the team that examined the captured vessel. What they found exceeded their wildest expectations. This ship is incredibly advanced, Turner reported to Admiral Hayes, but it's also incredibly fragile. They built it assuming they would always have superior firepower and tactical advantage. There are no backup systems for critical components, no redundant armor plating, no emergency protocols for when things go wrong. What does that mean for us? It means they've forgotten how to lose, sir. Their whole military is designed around the idea that they're always stronger than their enemies. They don't know how to fight when they're not winning. The psychological impact of the human attacks was even greater than the physical damage. For over 1,000 years, the Council had been unchallenged masters of the galaxy. They had grown complacent, arrogant, and soft. The idea that a primitive species could threaten them was literally unthinkable. High Counselor Vextai called an emergency session of the full Council. Representatives from all 12 species gathered in the Great Chamber, but for the first time, in centuries, they were not confident and calm. The human situation has become more serious than anticipated, Vextai announced. They have demonstrated unexpected capabilities. The hegemony representative slammed a tentacle on his speaking platform. Unexpected, they're destroying our fleets. How did your intelligence services miss this? My intelligence services? Vextai's scales darkened with anger. The Zephyrian Empire provided accurate assessments. If other species had contributed better information, the chamber erupted in accusations and arguments. Each species blamed the others for underestimating humanity. Ancient rivalries and jealousies surfaced as the Council's unity began to crack. While the aliens argued, human forces pressed their attack. Captain Taylor led raids deep into Council territory, striking supply bases and communication centers. His ships moved like ghosts, appearing from hyperspace just long enough to destroy their targets before vanishing again. The virus Dr. Ross had created was spreading faster than the Council could contain it. Their own computer networks were turning against them. Ships lost in hyperspace. Bases went dark without warning. Entire fleets received orders to attack empty space. Admiral Hayes received reports from across the galaxy. Human forces had destroyed over 200 Council ships and captured 12 major facilities. More importantly, they had shattered the Council's image of invincibility. Sir, we're getting surrender requests from 3 Council species, Commander Brooks reported. They want to negotiate separate peace treaties. Hayes smiled grimly. The Council was falling apart exactly as Dr. Rodriguez had predicted. When you build an alliance on arrogance instead of respect, It breaks the moment you show weakness. But the war was far from over. Vextai and his most loyal followers were gathering their remaining forces for a final assault on Earth. They would rather destroy humanity completely than admit they had been wrong. The real battle was about to begin. On the bridge of the Earth's fury, Admiral Hayes looked out at the stars and thought about the 30 colonists who had died on Mars. The Council's home system appeared on the main screen of the Earth's fury like a jewel hanging in space. 3 massive planets orbited an ancient red star, each one home to billions of aliens who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Today, humanity had come to end their reign. Admiral Chris Hayes stood surrounded by holographic displays showing the positions of over 800 human ships. The fleet had grown during their march across Council space as more Earth vessels joined the assault. Every shipyard in human territory was working day and night to build reinforcements. "Sir, we're detecting the Council's main battle fleet," reported Commander Kelly Brooks. "Over 2,000 ships defending the capital world." Hayes studied the enemy formation. The Council ships were arranged in perfect geometric patterns, following battle tactics that were older than human civilization. They looked impressive and intimidating, exactly as they were designed to do. 2,000 ships against 800, Hayes mused. They still think numbers matter more than tactics. Captain Ben Taylor's voice came through the communications system from his position at the fleet's edge. "Admiral, my scouts report something interesting. The Council fleet isn't unified. Different species are staying in separate groups. It looks like they don't trust each other anymore." Hayes smiled. The political cracks that had started during humanity's first attacks had become full breaks. The hegemony of Talvar no longer trusted the Zephyrians. The crystal beings from Andromeda were positioning their ships to retreat quickly. The Council's greatest strength had become their greatest weakness. "All ships, begin Phase Alpha," Hayes ordered. "Show them what human coordination looks like." The human fleet moved like a living thing. Ships that had been scattered across space suddenly came together in perfect formation. Unlike the rigid Council patterns, the human formation constantly shifted and changed. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. High Counselor Vextai watched from his flagship as the human fleet approached. His scaled hands gripped the command chair so tightly that his claws left marks in the metal. The primitive species that he had dismissed as barely evolved primates had destroyed half his empire in 3 months. "All Council forces, prepare to engage," Vextai commanded. "Today we end this embarrassment once and for all." But even as he gave the order, Vextai could see the problems in his own fleet. The Talvar ships were hanging back, unwilling to take heavy casualties for Zephyrian pride. The Andromedans were already calculating retreat vectors. 3 Council species had openly switched sides and were now fighting alongside the humans. The battle began when Captain Jake Morrison led the first wave of human ships into the Council formation. His vessel, the Defiance, had been upgraded with every new weapon humanity had developed. As he charged toward the enemy line, Morrison thought about the diplomatic mission that had started this war. The aliens had called humans barely evolved, primates. Today, they would learn what evolution really meant. "All weapons, fire at will," Morrison announced. "Show them what primates can do." The Defiance opened fire with weapons that changed type every few seconds. Plasma cannons became particle, beams became gravity bombs, became quantum torpedoes. The Council ship's adaptive armor couldn't keep up with the constant changes. Within minutes, Morrison had punched a hole through the enemy line. Behind him, hundreds of human ships poured through the gap. They fought with a coordination that amazed even their own commanders. When one ship was damaged, others covered its retreat. When ammunition ran low, supply ships appeared as if from nowhere. The human fleet fought like a single organism with 800 deadly parts. Dr. Kevin Ross's virus had infected the Council's command systems weeks ago. Now it activated its final programming. Across the enemy fleet, ships suddenly found their weapons targeting their own allies. Communication systems broadcast random poetry instead of battle orders. Navigation computers gave directions to restaurants instead of tactical positions. "Sir, our systems are malfunctioning," reported a council. Technician to Vextai. We're getting reports of cascade failures across the entire fleet. Impossible, Vextai snarled. Our technology doesn't malfunction. But even as he spoke, his own ship's main display started showing advertisements for human movies instead of tactical information. The bridge lights began flashing in random colors. The artificial gravity switched on and off every few seconds. General Patricia Webb coordinated the human assault from her command ship. She watched as council formations fell apart under the combined pressure of superior tactics and technological sabotage. The aliens had built their fleet to intimidate and dominate. They had never considered what would happen if their enemies refused to be intimidated. Ma'am, the Talvar fleet is requesting permission to surrender, reported her communications. Officer, accepted, Webb replied. Direct them to coordinates Alpha 7 for processing. One by one, Council species began surrendering or switching sides. The hegemony of Talvar had seen enough human victories to know which way the war was going. The crystal beings from Andromeda simply vanished into hyperspace, abandoning their allies. Even some Zephyrian ships began displaying white flags. But Vextai refused to give up. In desperation, he ordered his remaining forces to activate an ancient weapon hidden in the system's asteroid belt. The device was older than the Council itself, a relic from a war fought before humans had learned to make fire. If we cannot rule the galaxy, then no one will, Vextai declared. Activate the Star Killer. The ancient weapon began to glow with malevolent energy. It was designed to cause stars to collapse into black holes, destroying entire solar systems. Vextai planned to use it on Earth's sun, killing every human in existence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez detected the energy buildup from her position aboard the research vessel Discovery. She had been studying captured Council technology throughout the war, learning how their most advanced systems worked. Admiral Hayes, they're powering up some kind of superweapon, Rodriguez reported. The energy readings are off the charts. If they fire that thing at our sun, can you stop it? Hayes asked. Rodriguez studied her readings. The weapon was incredibly powerful, but like all Council technology, it followed predictable patterns. Maybe, if I can get close enough to plant a virus directly into its control system. Too dangerous, Hayes replied. We'll find another way. But Rodriguez was already moving. She had spent months creating the perfect virus for Council systems. This weapon was just another computer to be hacked. She ordered her ship toward the asteroid belt, ignoring Hayes' commands to return. Captain Ben Taylor saw what Rodriguez was attempting and moved to cover her approach. His ship, the Lightning, danced between asteroid chunks while fighting off Council defenders. His weapons cleared a path for the research vessel. Elena, you've got 30 seconds before they finish charging, Taylor announced. Rodriguez's ship reached the ancient weapon just as it began its firing sequence. She launched a probe containing her most powerful virus directly into the weapon's control center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Starkiller began to turn. Instead of pointing at Earth's sun, it swiveled toward the Council's home star. The weapon that was meant to destroy humanity was now aimed at the heart of the Council's empire. No! Vextai screamed. Override the targeting system. But it was too late. The virus had taken complete control. The Starkiller fired its terrible beam directly into the system's red giant star. The ancient sun began to collapse, just as the weapon's creators had designed it to do. The death of a star is not a quiet thing. As the red giant collapsed into a black hole, it released more energy than humanity had produced in its entire history. The explosion was visible from 1,000 light-years away. The Council's capital worlds were vaporized in seconds. Vextai's flagship was caught in the stellar collapse. His last words were a curse against the primitive species that had defeated his ancient empire. The surviving Council forces surrendered immediately. Without their capital worlds and their leadership, the alliance that had ruled the galaxy for millennia simply fell apart. Some species fled to distant systems. Others begged humanity for mercy. President Amanda Foster arrived 3 days later aboard a diplomatic vessel. She came not as a conqueror, but as someone offering a new way forward. The old Council had ruled through fear and arrogance. Humanity offered something different: partnership based on respect. The age of species ruling over other species is over, Foster announced to the assembled alien representatives. From now on, we work together as equals or we don't work together at all. Jake Morrison was appointed as humanity's first galactic ambassador. His job was to help build a new alliance based on cooperation instead of domination. It would not be easy, but it was the only way to ensure lasting peace. Dr. Elena Rodriguez survived the star's collapse. Though her ship was badly damaged, she became the head of a new research initiative designed to understand and improve upon the technologies of all galactic species. Her first project was developing better safety systems so that superweapons could never again threaten entire solar systems. Admiral Hayes was asked to become the head of the new Galactic Defense Force. The organization's mission was simple: protect all species from aggression, regardless of their size or technological level.